Hey there! We're on lesson 29 now. We're getting close to the end of module 4. What we've been talking about is dividing things by fractions. This is going to look different, but the end result is really not any different at all. What you've gotten used to seeing with the fractions is, for example, if I have, let's get the pencil going here. If I have 2/10, 2/10, I could write that this way. And it means the exact same thing. They're equal to each other. So when we come down to this one and we take a look, this one says 4 divided by 1/10, which also means 4 divided by 1/10. And so when you think about it and what your understanding is that this right here, that 10/10 makes one whole. So if that's 10/10 makes a whole, 10, 20, 30, 40. If you think about that, if you have 40/10, remember that place value chart that we used to use at the beginning when we were talking about decimals, and that if I have 10/10, remember the arrow would bring it over to a 1, and if in order to have 4, and I'm breaking it into tenths, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And so each one of these is a whole. Well, it also makes 4 then. How many are here? 10, 20, 30, 40. So there are 40/10 in 4 wholes. There are 10/10 in a whole, is what this is telling you. So therefore there's 40/10 in 4 wholes. And then when we did this as a division with the fraction, if you had 4/1 and it's divided by 1/10, remember that standard algorithm parent style that I've been talking about is where you keep the first thing. Here's what you have. You have 4 whole. And we're going to be doing the division. So we're actually flipping it and doing a somersault. So it becomes 4 times 10. And so we get 40 that way also. So that's what this first page is asking you to do, is think about, your knowledge of how these work based on that number chart that I showed you at the beginning. This one right here, this decimal chart right over here. So think about that. So this one right here is having us think about 3 6/10. So remember, it takes 10/10 to make a whole. So 10, 20, 30. So there's 30/10 to make 3 wholes. And then it says there's 6/10 here. So that means there's 6/10 in 6/10. It gets kind of redundant that way. But then we're combining them. And so how many tenths are there to make 3 6/10? Well, altogether, that's 36/10 then. Let's go on to one of the hardest ones on the page here. Let's get a little bit more complicated. So this one right here, 11 3/10. And they're asking how many hundredths are in there. And so when you think about that, what we were doing before is we were saying for each whole we were multiplying it by 10. For each whole this time we're multiplying it by 100. Because remember, it's like thinking about money. How many pennies are there in a dollar? There's 100 of them. So this is asking how many pennies are there in $11. So in that case, you're doing 11 times 100. And this is kind of like our math ball. 1 times 11 is 11. How many zeros are we adding to that? 2 of them. So there's 1,100 hundredths in 11 wholes. And then think about this. For every 10 of these, so when we had that place value chart, if this was your decimal here, and this was your tenths place, this right here is your hundredths place here, and we have 3/10. So that's the same as having 10 hundredths and 10 hundredths and 10 hundredths. because each one of these becomes a tenth. For every 10 hundredths you have, it becomes a tenth. So on this one, it looks like we have 30 hundredths is the same as 3 tenths. So here's what that would look like. 30, the zero's in the hundredths place. So therefore 30 hundredths is the same as, if you get rid of that, 3 tenths. So it's the same thing. So then we combine these. So here's what's in the thousands place. Here's what's in the hundreds place. Here's what's in the tens place. Here's what's in the ones place when you add these together. So I hope that's helping to be able to picture this. And now on these, what it's asking us to do is the same kind of thing. Think about if this is hundredths, and so you had 24 times 100. 24 times 100. 24 times 100. So 1 times 24 is 24, and then we add in 2 zeros. And then we have 5 tenths, which is the same as 50 hundredths. So then all together, what does that add up to? 2,450. Now let's take a look. Giovanna is charged 1 penny for every text message she sends. Last month her cell phone bill included a $12.60 charge for text messages. So how many text messages must she have sent? Well, this one's easy right here because you know that's 60 hundredths. So 60 hundredths. And now we know that this is 12 times 100. So it's 1200. And when we combine all that, 1260 text messages, 1,260 text messages is how much she did. All right, so let's take a look at a homework problem, shall we? I'm going to ask you to do number 2. And this one, it's kind of like we did at the beginning. You want to figure out 28 is equal to how many hundredths, and then figure out if it was tenths. How many tenths are there? And so here's that place value chart again if you need it. And so if we take that, we think about it, you're going to be moving arrows that way, right? Because right here is your 2 in the tens place, and your 8 in the ones place. And you want to think about, okay, if there's 10 of these, it gives me a 1. So if I have 8 of these, how many is it going to be in the tenths place? If there's 28 of them, how many will it be in the tenths place? And so on with the hundredths. So go ahead and draw it out. Think about it some. This is really what's called number sense. When we actually go to start dividing with decimals and stuff, it will look totally different. What we're doing right now is just trying to help you be able to see, the logic behind it all. That's, like I said, it's what they happen to call number sense. So just do number 2. It's kind of a complex thing to think about. That's why I'm asking you to do 1. Thanks. See you tomorrow.